Chronicles of Spectro.
Oh shit! Okay, hear me out. Before you dislike or unsubscribe, please just hear me out. I'm not making a hit piece on Deadpool, but rather a constructive criticism towards the character and cultural presence he has within the world of geekdom. If anything, I like Deadpool. He's a snarky anti-hero who contrasts himself from brooding gun-toting vigilantes of the 90s and moving forward. Sure, he wasn't originally conceived as that when he first debuted in comics, but over the years he's evolved into a pop culture sensation. Just like Spider-Man, however, he uses his jokes as a way to cope with his experiences during battle and his life outside of his action hero antics. He deserves his popularity, much like all comic book characters from his era and before. But the question still remains, why don't I like Deadpool compared to how others like Deadpool? And here's the reason why. Deadpool's overall popularity has transformed himself into more of a meme at this point. I am sure that applies to all superheroes at this point who have been turned into memes, but regardless to the Merc with the Mouth, that's his whole character. He's just a living meme. As a kid, I always saw him as a cool, badass, all-talk and no-shit beast of a character. Now I see him as a bygone character that I ended up growing out of. Not saying that he's become juvenile for my taste, but sometimes it gets old whenever he makes wisecracks. Not even Spider-Man, a character that he's often compared and even shipped with, makes quippy one-liners like him. And yeah, I understand that's the whole point of his character. He's basically a Looney Tunes character in the Marvel Universe. But that's also another problem. He exists in a universe with complex written characters. He's got a lot of competition. The same people that say that Superman is a boring character because he's too perfect and powerful are probably the same people who like Deadpool. But here's the stark contrast between Superman and Deadpool. He's not only the embodiment of justice and freedom, but embodies what it means to be a good person. This allows a ton of diverse storytelling and actions for the character to play off of. His character has always remained consistent since then, and even to this very day. And I know that comparing Deadpool and Superman is a bit of a stretch, but if Deadpool's popularity is that grand, why isn't he talked about in the same vein as Superman? All I can say is that he just makes jokes and fights bad guys, just for the heck of it. And again, I'm not trying to kill your fun here. You can always have a character that's all about the fun. But what makes him stand out from the rest of the characters that validate him to get away with so many things that other characters can't get away with? Look, I'm a fan too, you know. Just because it's your favorite character, it doesn't mean you're allowed to make idle criticism towards them. How else do you think Spider-Man fans are currently feeling right now with his current comic book run? Sometimes it's normal to criticize something you like, because if you don't, you're going to have an unhealthy amount of bias. And when you become more biased, you become more annoying. And I cannot talk about Deadpool without talking about She-Hulk. While Deadpool fans think it's the funniest shit of all time, they go out and crap on She-Hulk, who literally has the same humor as Deadpool. And look, She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, was pretty hit or miss. But to complain about She-Hulk and how they're trying to make her too funny, that argument should also apply to Deadpool, to be honest, because if you're gonna treat a certain character with that regard, you should also treat that other character in the same vein. They're literally in the same franchise. It's not like one of them belongs to Marvel or DC. They literally exist within the same universe. And this is also a problem that I have with Marvel Mandate, in which whenever a character is at a certain point in their canon that ends up defying their character, it sticks and will never change. Let's take a look back at Spider-Man, for example, a character who has been around for 60 years, and he's continued to grow as a character since then, from being a high school student, transitioning becoming a college student to a full-time employee at the Daily Bugle. But one of the biggest issues that I have that many others have is the fact that he will never grow up as a character, both physically and mentally. Marvel's editorials refuse to make Spider-Man mature, and because of that, he's remained the same character since his very first issue. He still has an Aunt May, who most of the time he continues to rely on despite her age. He and Mary Jane will never become a couple again, and they haven't since 2007. I mean, that is if you're talking about the Ultimate Comics, but that's besides the point. Mary Jane and Peter Parker are the most iconic comic couples of all time, probably within the realm of fiction, but they haven't even been married since 2007 with One More Day, because Marvel doesn't like change in status quos. Instead, all characters have to either remain the same, and because of that, it assassinates the interest of this character. And sadly, this also applies to Deadpool as well. Marvel editorial sees how the mainstream views Deadpool, and because of that, they cater to the memes and the silliness of the character instead of doing something new with them. This is probably why I haven't gotten into Deadpool related media in a long time aside from Deadpool and Wolverine, because they're all just the same to me. And when they do want to do something different and unique with the character, just like Spider-Man, they refuse to let that continue for years on end. An example of this would definitely be within the realm of the Marvel crossover event series Original Sin, in which many Marvel characters are shown secrets within the Marvel universe. Like how it was revealed that Tony Stark was the reason why Bruce Banner turned into the Hulk, or how Spider-Man found out that there was another Spider-Person in the form of Cindy Moon, aka Silk. As for Deadpool, he finds out he has a daughter. Deadpool's daughter Eleanor is introduced. Seeing Deadpool as a father is such a different and unique approach for his character, and I'm surprised no one talks about it. And there's a good reason for it. Since Marvel has an addiction for not giving characters progression, Deadpool ends up leaving her, and ever since then, Marvel writers literally forgot about her character. What a way to ruin something so good and so interesting. It makes all that shit completely pointless now. It's like watching an episode of Family Guy where someone in the family, primarily Brian, ends up falling in love only for them to break up by the end of the episode. It's so predictable at this point, why make it in the first place? Hell, remember Shikla? You don't? Well, let me refresh you. Deadpool was once married to a vampire by the name of Shikla. It was a really big deal for the character. However, it is all ruined when Shikla ended up having an affair with a werewolf. And it happened so abruptly within the issue because, well, no one expected it to happen, especially with the development that these two characters had with each other. And it pisses me off to high heaven because I feel like no matter how shitty Deadpool comics are and how they will continue to become, Deadpool fans will continue to eat that shit up and not care simply because it's Deadpool. Now, what do I think about the movies? Do I hate those too? No, I don't. And there's a good reason for it. Deadpool as a character, and especially within the realm of movies, works sometimes because it allows him to fall into the realm of live action. There's a unique limit to how they can demonstrate and showcase Deadpool within that realm of storytelling. Serialized movies and TV shows need to progress. If it stays the same, then viewers are going to dip out on it. Deadpool has a wife. He grows as a character throughout each installment. My favorite scene in the whole franchise is when he defends Fire Fist. He sees Fire Fist as a victim and a misguided individual. He goes up against his abusers and shoots one of them without a joke to crack or a moment of tension breaking. He's at his lowest point. This is a perfect blend of his edge as well as his development as a character. And when he's not shoving forced humor down your throat, he's an actual character. And again, he didn't even need to be complex to be interesting, but give me someone who I can actually care about. If Deadpool's a real person, I'm pretty sure 99% of the world would hate him. But it gets worse from here. Despite Deadpool 2 being my favorite Deadpool movie, let alone my favorite Marvel movie, the mid-credits scene kinda ruined it for me, especially given the fact that it made it worse because it actually didn't even try to become relevant within Deadpool and Wolverine, which I'll explain later on in this video. All of that emotional weight, all of that character growth has now been downplayed. It sucks for me to even say this, but when Gwenpool is a better Deadpool than Deadpool, something's not right. Even that character doesn't like Deadpool due to all the stuff I mentioned in this video. Even when new writers misunderstood the assignment of Gwenpool by making her a Deadpool clone, her most memorable moments are far from it. At this point in the video, I don't know how much I need to say about this character. Again, this isn't me shitting on Deadpool. I like Deadpool. I just don't like how Deadpool is represented. The more he continues to become a walking, talking meme, the more I become to lose faith in the character, and that, in my eyes, is the definition of a one-trick pony. And now I feel like I need to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. What do I think about this film? Okay, let's take a little bit of a break real quick, because in regards to this video, I actually wrote this script about a year ago, and a lot of my feelings sort of have changed, and a lot of this came from a lot of disingenuous feelings towards the character, as well as the writing and the fan base. But I just want to be perfectly blunt about this topic. So if I sound like I'm targeting people, I'm not. Whether this is your favorite character or not, you can love this character regardless with all your heart's content. I just want to give a space for myself to just talk about why I have issues with this character and how it could potentially change in the future. And thankfully, after seeing Deadpool and Wolverine, it was exactly what I wanted in a Deadpool story. The self-awareness of him being a one-trick pony and trying to do something more than just being a comedic superhero was all that I wanted out of this film. And it felt perfect that Wolverine's inclusion in this film was almost like a mouthpiece to all the problems that I have with current Deadpool stories. And the fact that everyone in this film just sees him as a regular schmo instead of this godlike messiah that Wade Wilson describes himself as. And sure, I have problems with this film, especially of how they handle the relationship with Deadpool and Vanessa, because seriously, if they're bringing back Vanessa back from the dead and have them break up in the third film, what was the point of that? I'm at least glad this was a story about Deadpool trying to prove himself, trying to prove to me that he could be a competent character rather than a one-trick pony who just spouts out quips. This movie might not be perfect, but it's definitely a Deadpool film in which I can highly respect and talk about for years to come. I wanted to make this video simply because of the fact that no one is brave enough to talk about the fact that they have issues with Deadpool, because regardless of how much you love Deadpool, there's a lot to criticize in regards to this character. Because if we're not allowed to criticize, what's the point of improving? You just simply can't get away with everything. No matter how good or bad a story or a character is, there's always got to be something worth talking about in a wide variety of spectrums. And I'm not here to change people's minds. This is just my opinion and my opinion alone, and I'm sure as hell you can't change my mind either, because I'm sticking with it, and regardless of how you see this character, as long as you're happy, I'm happy. Because I am aware that this character has made such a huge impact on a ton of fans. And throughout some of the darkest moments in people's lives, there is a beacon of hope that just so happens to be in the form of a guy in red tights that makes wisecracks and fights crime. He may not be my favorite character, but we can all be civil about it, right?